Is there a way that people can choose or find the appropriate paralegal or legal advice? And is there some sort of way that you can determine how much money this should cost someone in advance, or can they obtain perhaps free services if they are really struggling? And how do you actually determine how much money you should actually invest into a legal defense that is both reasonable and manageable?
Really, really good questions, but it depends to a large degree on what you're challenging. For example, the easiest solution here is if we dealt, say, first with fines, for example. Fines is a different thing because a fine is when you're accused of a wrong and you're fined for it to appear in court. So you don't actually have to initiate anything in a fine. You're defending yourself and you have a constitutional right to a fair trial in this country. Unfortunately, these fines are not what we call indictable in the sense that you can get a jury trial. In Australia, you need an offence that's 2 years or more to be recognised as an indictable offence to get a jury trial. So most of the public health order fine kind of matters. So to answer each of your questions, you'd have to answer in categories. So in fines, there is no cost because you're self-represent. If you self-represent, there's no cost. You can engage a solicitor if you wish. I'm not entirely sure in this situation that's the best idea. Certainly people should seek legal counsel and talk to people. You asked about where to go. Myself, my own website, my email and address, you can contact me directly. I'm happy to put people in touch with solicitors. A lot of them are getting very smashed, but I think G&B solicitors, Nathan Buckley's doing an amazing job in New South Wales, and he's helping an awful lot of people, nurses and people and other professionals. So they're already running it and doing it. AFL, Tony Nikolic, he's running a Supreme Court challenge at the moment. A lot of nurses, he was talking about in the order of thousands coming to him. So they're being smashed as well, but they're also available, and that's AFL solicitors. Flitner Law, they're a really good friend of mine, Mishka Hudson. She's down, a paralegal, but she helps organise them, and they're in Victoria. But nonetheless, they're also providing a lot of services. They're actually writing letters for a couple of $100 for people, the letters on their legal letterhead, to approach these businesses saying, if you do this, you're going to get sued, and you can get sued for a lot of money. And some of these legal bodies may even be offering pro bono. I'm not entirely sure on that, meaning that the fees are very limited and they'll take the money back from what they get in a claim because it's a no-brainer. In other words, the claims are very strong. So I don't want to go on too much here because if you want me to answer those questions specifically with how much it's going to cost people, it depends a lot on your situation. If you're self-represented like me, you can do these things on submissions. So, fines, for example, you can do that with no money. Everyone, in my view, should challenge the fines. The public health orders are ridiculous. The laws, there's so many legal arguments against them even being able to enforce them that I think I could just about teach a 5-year-old to run a case on that. Everyone should challenge them, and there's no disservice done. And this is the way we can fight lawfully and challenge the system. It's going to come unstuck. The more complex matters with people when they've got property, they're homeowners and they've got property, I tend to be a little bit more reticent because I can provide information, but for people like that, if there's a risk involved with property, they do have to think a little bit more about it. And that's kind of how the government binds people because they're property owners. It's what frightens them from stepping out of the box and challenging these things. But having said that, if you're prepared, if you're going to lose your job and everything else, these are rock solid arguments. I personally, homeowner or not, will be challenging them. I'll be going to one of these companies because there's some great people I've met. I personally don't have a lot of time for the legal profession in general. I mean no disrespect, but most that I've dealt with, their allegiance is to the bar, and they don't often stand up for people in the way they should. However, we're seeing what's coming to the front now are some really quantifiable and decent human beings stepping up. So we're actually finding out now who really are the good solicitors and who the good barristers, and they are rising to the occasion. I'd go to one of those off the back, and I'm happy to help support people and put them in contact with some great individuals that will talk to them for free and give them advice and point them in the right direction to go and talk to legal professionals and jump on the bandwagon with a lot of other people that are in the same boat. They're certainly not alone.